All right, let's get started doing the bake from one UV map to another. So first thing I want to do is just open up my UV editor here and just make sure that with this item selected here, that item selected, I'm going to make sure that I have both UV maps in place, and there is the map we'll be baking from, and here is the map we'll be baking to. Okay, so in other words, this image is going to warp to match this UV map. Okay, so I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to just hide everything that I really don't need right now. So I'll go to the sole, the UV mesh ops, and the curves. Just turn the eyes off on those. Now I really don't need to see these inside polys right now. So what I'm going to do is go to my materials here. I'm going to select on this outer material here, and then I'm going to go to the polygons, hit the Option key, and go. It'll give me the Option or Alt will give you the convert. And now I've got all those outer polys selected. Hold down the Shift H, and that will hide everything that's not selected. Okay. I could have alternately just selected probably those inside materials too, and just selected those polygons and hit the hide in that as well. Either way works fine. Okay, so next step is to create a UV mesh using the back UV map. So I'm going to go to texture, go to convert UVs to mesh. I'm going to go to the outer shell back, and we'll call this shell UV, I'm going to call it shell back UV mesh. There we go. It's a little clearer to me. And there it is. Okay, but I'll leave that on. I'm not going to worry about hiding that right now. Okay, so now what we need to do is create a selection set for our polygons here. So I'm going to highlight, double click to highlight all those polygons, and I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go click that, and I'm going to go to new set, and I'm going to call this the shell outer set. Okay, and I think that's fine. Okay, so we've got that. Now the next thing we want to do is create a new group in the shader tree. Okay. So I'm going to create a group where we'll do all the baking. So I'm going to add a layer, go to group. Now you'll notice it put it inside whatever I had highlighted. So I want to move it out and make sure it sits above everything else, but below the base shader. And that's important. And I'm going to rename this. We'll call this bake group. All right, there we go. The bake group. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and make a little change on this, on the group item itself. You'll notice that in the properties panel, there's some parameters that you can set. And one of the parameters we want to change here is a polygon tag type. Now we want to change that to a selection set. This is why we made our selection set, and we're going to call this the outer. We're going to use the polygon tag shell outer set. Okay, so this group is going to look for the polygon tag. It's going to search through everything on our layer, and then it's going to look for a polygon tag called selection set, and then it's going to look for the shell outer set. All right. Now I'm just going to go open this material here. This is our image that we're going to bake onto a new empty image. Okay, put it in there. And now I want to add a new blank image. So I'll go here, new image, and we'll put it wherever we want. We'll call this new baked. There we go. And I'm going to set this to 4K and leave everything else the same, and this will be a target file. Give it a second to create that, and there we go. Now you'll notice it kind of messes up the map on there, and what it's actually doing is just messing up the image on there. But don't worry about that. It's not important. Okay, it's perfectly natural. Okay, now just make sure that both of these are set to diffuse color. And just as a precaution, just make sure you don't have anything accidentally selected, which is sometimes happens. You'll want to make sure that you hit escape in polys, escape in edges, and escape in vertices, just to make sure that nothing is selected there. All right. And now we're ready to, as they say, rock and roll. I'm going to click on the top image here. Now I should let you know that the bake actually happens from bottom to top. So whatever on the bottom is going to get baked to the top image, which is our blank. So just right click on the upper image, go down to bake to texture, and just let the magic happen. All right, so we are done. I'm going to close that out. And now we have a nicely baked image on there, but that's not where we want that image. We want to click here on this item. And whoops, let me do that again. Click that, hit M for materials. I'm going to call this the back UV mesh. Click that. And that's the material, back UV mesh material. And I'm just going to take the new bake and put that on there. Just drag that into this material mask and put this one back where it belongs on the shoe, and take that bake group, right click, and just delete it. We don't need it. And there we are. Now we have two nicely positioned images that we can use as guides. One last note, be sure to save your newly created image, otherwise you will lose it. So our next step will be to build some panels for the back part of the shoe.